Where do I start with that foul, horrible, appalling woman who could become our Prime Minister?
She could.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, if she's going to be Deputy Prime Minister, it's a bit facile, this.
Yeah.
Could she dress a bit better?
Yeah.
Starmer is silent. His party receives funding from sponsors. The Labour Party was defeated, demonstrating its hypocritical nature. They promised honesty and the eradication of corruption in the UK, but instead acted in exactly the opposite way. They have completely undermined our trust. What happened on the show was really fair.
Where do I start with that foul, horrible, appalling woman who could become our Prime Minister?
She could.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, if she's going to be Deputy Prime Minister, it's a bit facile, this.
Yeah.
Could she dress a bit better?
Yes.
She's not taking money from the right people.
I mean, she's starting to look a bit like John Prescott, though. So I mean,
Well, yeah, I know.
I think he was slightly prettier, John Prescott.
£68,000 a year, £68,000 a year. You could get 2 or maybe 3 presenters on talk for that. You know,
6.
Yeah.
6. You know.
Six.
Angela Rayner once said she would resign if a police investigation proved that she had evaded paying capital gains tax. When Starmer was asked about this scandal, he did not answer questions as usual. Rayner bought a council house for £79,000. According to tax experts, Rayner could have received tax benefits if she and her husband had chosen the house as their main place of residence, but then her husband would have had to pay tax on the profits earned from the house when he sold it in 2016, or would have had to carry out significant construction work on her property. As a result, Angela Rayner did not have to pay capital gains tax when selling her previous house, which belonged to the municipality this case was closed.
We are paying for this. You know, she could well afford to pay her own photographer.
She doesn't need a full-time photographer, right? I said this earlier in the week. You know, I used to work in Fleet Street. Even Fleet Street gave up on full-time photographers. They hire them when they need them. You know, go take some pictures today. We've got Prince William coming out of Windsor, whatever. Pay them a day rate, 200 quid, 500 quid, whatever.
She pays photographers thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money to boost her image and could face a corruption investigation for hiring a personal photographer with a salary of £68,000. Downing Street has had photographers filming the Prime Minister for several years, but she became the first Deputy Prime Minister to hire a full-time photographer. She also reacted to gifts worth thousands of pounds, including clothes, travel and tickets, which she and other high-ranking officials received from wealthy sponsors. She said donations have long been part of her policy, but insists she has not broken any rules.
This is a woman who 3 years ago in 2021 lambasted Boris Johnson about having a photographer, lambasted him about his wallpaper, called the Tories scum, said they had their noses in their trot. All I heard about these people in opposition, led by her, was cronyism, jobs for the boys. I get that. This lot in 12 weeks, this is what I think, right? They are supposed, or were supposed to be, the party of the working man and woman. What a load of old SHIT that is, because quite simply,
what is a working man or woman?
they don't vote Labour because they look at that and they go, you are abusing it almost as bad, if not worse, than the Tories.
One last thing. Go on.
I remember very well how this woman criticized Johnson for having a personal photographer. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how she arranged it, that some mysterious photographer captured Boris Johnson's parties. These parties were at a time when no one left the house and there were strict restrictions for everyone except politicians, apparently. So Boris Johnson decided to stick to the strategy that he wasn't there, that it wasn't him, that he was forced to be there, and so on.
Angela Rayner, Keir Starmer, and the other ones go on about the Tories' black hole. They left this black hole that needs filling.
Right.
Angela Rayner and the others are going to have a far bigger black hole by the time they leave.
Well, they will, because they're spending the money that supposedly is in the black hole. So the black hole's going to get deeper. But let me tell you this.
So why?
I've got some good news for you. I've got Angela Rayner speaking.
Is she coming in?
And defending. Here she is defending herself.
The British press have printed stories about our Keir and they're calling him names. There's a lot of misinformation and they're calling him names like 3-gear Keir. So what if he went to see Taylor Swift more than once? Big deal.
The investment summit I mentioned earlier ended with impressive announcements. £63 billion were attracted to the British economy, which according to promises will lead to the creation of 38,000 workplaces. Do you think they will be able to meet expectations, coping with the pressure of budget austerity, environmental challenges, and the threat of not fulfilling their own election promises?
It's an extraordinary moment. A man that's going to be on the international stage talking about, I want a ceasefire in the Middle East, in brackets, both sides need to want that, you idiot, close brackets, they don't. And then he said, I am calling for the immediate release of the sausages.
Yes.
I mean,
people listening to you will think he's making that up.
No.
There's no way. Yeah. There's no way that the Prime Minister of Great Britain, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, a pivotal man, a pivotal country in NATO, a pivotal place in history, his first conference as Prime Minister, right? Here it is.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Starmer found himself in an awkward position, to put it mildly. He declared his readiness to improve the future. He also called for peace in the Middle East and the return of Israeli hostages. However, shortly after that, there was a scandal that quickly spread around the world. It's not the first time Keir Starmer has faced mistakes. There were practically no concrete proposals in his speech, and instead of a real action plan to solve industrial, economic, energy, transport, social and medical problems, only promises were made. And promises, as we know, most often do not come true. I basically don't understand how it was possible to make such a reservation, or maybe really all his thoughts were about sausages, because he really wanted to eat. Who knows?
When you go Keir Starmer, everybody goes, which one do you want?
Right.
Freebie-gate? What do you mean? It's just
Granny
ridiculous. One of the big things about this country, which for years nobody would talk about, is the problems we have with immigration. And for years, if you said that, you would, oh, it's racist, you can't say that. Migration, this week, this is astonishing, right? We are now the illegal migrant capital of Europe. For years, people, all the bedwetters would say to me, oh, we don't take as many as France or Germany. We actually take more than any. Check this. There are 745,000 illegal migrants, accounting for, in the United Kingdom, in 2024, 1% of our population.
Our country has the largest number of illegal immigrants in Europe. Just imagine 973 illegal immigrants crossed the English Channel by boat, which is the highest number since the beginning of the year. There are up to 745,000 illegal immigrants in the UK, which is more than twice as many as in France, where there are about 300,000 illegal immigrants. The second largest country in terms of the number of illegal immigrants in Europe is Germany, where 700,000 people live. Illegal immigrants often seek any opportunity to gain a foothold in the country and obtain refugee status in order to have access to economic benefits and social programs. The British authorities spend millions of pounds a day to accommodate refugees in hotels. And what do they get in return? Crime and protests.
Now, this man who is falling by the wayside rapidly, which is joyous to behold. Forget Freebie-gate, forget all that. For me, and I know Mike and I have talked about this, he gave no plan to win that election. All he did, and somebody said to me the other day, the way you win an election when you are in opposition and the government is not popular is you tell people what's wrong with their lives and who's to blame for it. The thing is, he never gave an answer. I don't believe for 1 minute this idiot has any sort of plan to deal with this. No. I think he wants to pay lip service to every single different group under the tent of Labour.
His approval rating fell to a historic low as most voters became disillusioned with the behaviour of the Labour government. The first 3 months of his tenure as Prime Minister were overshadowed by infighting in the team that led to the resignation of Sue Gray, the scandal with free services and donations, as well as the decision to stop paying winter fuel allowance for millions of pensioners. Half of the Labour voters expressed disappointment. Labour's historic general election victory was followed by weeks of power struggles, as well as fears that the government could lose control of its agenda. Starmer has already made 3 attempts to change the agenda, announcing restrictions on future gifts and returning some of the received ones. Labour's biggest problem seems to be with older voters, who are increasingly outraged by Labour's decision to stop giving winter fuel allowances to 10 million retirees when the cold weather sets in.
Soft. There's a really simple deterrent, Mr. Starmer, and I don't think you should have a knighthood because you don't agree with things like that.
I think we should take it off him. Take it off him.
If we were less soft on what we gave out to migrants, if we didn't put them in hotels, give them money, send them to the dentist, the doctor, to the detriment of our own pensioners who are paid for years, then we would be in a better position. Does this man have the balls to do that? Does he?
No,
he's a disaster man.
In 2014, he was knighted for services to law and criminal justice. However, Starmer has previously said that he does not like official titles and does not like to use them himself. I think he won't be too upset if he gets stripped of that title. He wanted to fight the rot and rebuild the system, but he should start with himself. What do you think about this video? Share your opinion in the comments. See you.